leftist man on TikTok decided to post a heartfelt, sort of open letter to black women, a tribute to black women, if you will. And that tribute immediately backfired when black women responded and said, this is not the way to thank us. You know what we say, sometimes the woke eat their own. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Guys, before we get into today's video, please like and subscribe. Yes, today's video is a story like that of Icarus. Sometimes you woke a little too close to the sun. And that is what's happened to my boy Saad on TikTok, who decided to post somewhat of an open letter to black women titled Dear Black Women. And we're gonna get straight into the letter, and I'm gonna see if you can guess why people are upset at what he said.
Okay, I haven't been on TikTok for a bit, and I noticed everyone was tagging me in that whole Andrew Schultz thing about black women. I'll make a different comment about Andrew Schultz and that little rat Akash thing, but I want to say something about black women. And this was my mother, and I God is my witness right now. May the Lord strike me down if I'm lying. My mother told me and my siblings when we were young kids, before I remember it was when my older brother started secondary school. It was a big deal. My older brother going off to the big boy school, and my mum sat us down and she said, if you're ever in trouble out there in the real world, look for a black woman. My mum said this. My mum was raised in this country from the age of 6, the UK. She said, look for a black woman. She said, anywhere in the world, a black woman will help you. She was never wrong. But it's incredible that my mother said that. And I don't know what my mum went through. But I remember seeing photos of my mum in school when she was in high school and stuff. And she had loads of black friends and stuff, and they were all black women. Because my mom wasn't a pick-me, she only had female friends. And so she obviously felt some protection. And I
have to pause. I'm sorry. I was going to try to get through as much of this as I possibly could. But first of all, the piece of advice, if you're ever in trouble, look for a black woman. Imagine you hurt yourself, you're on the ground, you're in pain. Help! Help! Oh, white man? No, thank you. I'm specifically looking for a black woman. Can you please send a black woman my way? That's so ridiculous. And then he goes on to say, my mom was friends with black women. I have a lot of black friends. We love that one. And that made her not a pick-me because she's only friends with females. So if you're friends with men for some reason, that automatically makes you a pick-me as a woman. Oh, this is where we're at in today's day and age. You know, the lack of nuance in the conversations we have is just so apparent. Now, if you can guess already why this Dear Black Women open letter has backfired, he's already said what black women are upset about. And I don't necessarily agree with the black women on their anger towards him, but we're gonna keep watching.
Growing up for me, I noticed in my school, it was a very predominantly white school. The black teachers looked out for me. I had a black Jamaican teacher called Mrs. Forrester. She looked out for me. But even outside of school, when I started growing out my hair, it was a black woman that taught me how to look after my curls, what products to use. It's black women that built me up on this platform and got me to where I am. I have to give credit to where credit is due. It was women in general, but black women specifically who boosted me and told me how pretty I was and how great I was. But I am trying to make a point here, and it's that black women get treated the worst. The worst. Malcolm X said this. He goes, unfortunately, they are treated the worst. By the medical field, by the education field, by the police, by everything. Yet they're the ones that give the most love. And for I saw what he said in that post, Andrew Schultz, and some comments, and it's sad, and it hurts my heart when I think of those things, because I'll tell you right now, it wasn't that long ago. My friend Jordan, who I love and boast about, Jordan's got these, Jordan's family is just...
Let's pause for just a moment. I would love some facts to substantiate what he just said about black women being treated the worst in society, because he made some very bold claims about the medical field, about our educational institutions, and about police. Even when I was a leftist, I was under the impression that black men were the ones that we were writing this narrative about in regard to police brutality. When did it become black women? Fill me in on that. Okay, I'll wait.
When I was homeless, and Jordan introduced me to his family, they treated me like I was one of them. They didn't even care. They were just like, they treated me like family. It didn't feel awkward. You know when you go over to someone's house and you just sat in the corner for a bit? It didn't feel like that. And I know not all black people are the same. Obviously, I know that. But there's one thing that black people universally have, and that is that beautiful smile and beautiful love. that they just give out. But I'm telling you, it's a special feeling. I remember going to Jordan's once, and like I was just heartbroken. His family just like welcomed me, and they were like, "Where's the?" You know what? You know what his family said to me? They go. Oh, we've got a plate ready for you. And then Jordan's cousin just looks me up and then goes, "You're still skinny, boy." And I'm just like, right, well, yeah, I know I'm home.
You know, it's so wonderful that he's had these amazing experiences with Black women, and I'm not going to bring down those experiences in any way, shape, or form. I'm glad that he's had these moments that have allowed him to connect with others and have allowed him to be in a space where he felt comforted and loved and didn't have any awkwardness. But I just want to emphasize the fact that it has nothing to do with being Black, and it has nothing to do with being a woman. And he says he knows that not all Black people are the same, but all Black people have this universal smile and love, huh? Can we make that make sense? And it does sound like you're singling out a certain race as if they're somehow different than people of other races, as if they somehow have more love, more comforts to share with you and the world. And I would really challenge you to challenge that belief that you seem to have about people of other races in your pedestalization of Black women. Again, it's amazing that he's had these wonderful experiences with Black women, and I'm not going to take that away from him by any means. I just want him to understand the sort of racial narrative that he's painting as he's talking about these experiences. Let's continue.
No, I can't sit and not make a comment on this because no, and I know I made a post like months ago about Black men, but yeah, just and go look through history. Go look at what Nina Simone did. Go look at what Doreen Lawrence, Stephen Lawrence's mother, did. Go look at what Betty Shabazz did. Like these people are just incredible, and we don't give credit where credit is due. We really don't. And I think nowadays we're living in this world where if someone's pretty, we give them credit. Credit for what? They were just born beautiful, but like we don't look at the person's soul. We don't look at like who. We don't look at what people can attribute to life. If we did, we would give Mary C. Cole a huge statue. So that's my 2 cents, and I hope just thank you, and yeah, and thank you to a specific thank you to the Jamaican community, because there was this Jamaican woman who helped my grandmother, and that's a different story, and just Black women in general, thank you for everything you've done for me, for everything you've done for my family, and for everything you've done for our people. My people wouldn't have survived in the UK if it weren't for Black people standing up for us, coming to the protests for us, protesting with the bus rallies for us. Yeah, I know my history, so thank you.
That last line that he ends with, I think, is really at the heart of this letter to Black women. I think more so than wanting to give a tribute to Black women, which is already a very strange thing to do, he wants to show how connected he is to Blackness, how much he knows Black history, and he knows his people's history, and he knows how much Black women have played a part in his history. It is pandering, but it's also virtue signaling. Although we'll never get an admission that that is exactly what's happening, he's just saying he wants to give credit where credit is due. I will go ahead and give a little note here. There are a lot of people all throughout history that have done tremendous, amazing things. We will never hear their names. We will never know what they've done, and they receive no credit. Oftentimes, people who are doing the right thing don't do the right thing to receive credit and don't do the right thing with the expectation of credit. And it's nice that you're trying to lift people up and shout out certain names and give people respect where you feel like the respect is due, but something comes off as a little weird. There are some specific statements in this video that just sort of rub me the wrong way. He talks about shouting out Jamaican culture and the Jamaican community because one Jamaican woman at one point helped him in his life, and it shows that your worldview is kind of skewed. You should think of all the nice people who have done wonderful things for your life and dole out your appreciation to those individuals. I don't know what being Black or a woman or Jamaican has to do with the equation. And by your own logic, if you have problems with people making hasty generalizations about an entire group of people or an entire race, why would you on the other end make hasty generalizations observations about an entire group of people of a certain race. Because for every example that you can give of a fantastic black woman, another person could give an example of a black woman that embodies none of those traits, which is why we don't attribute these traits to their blackness or to their womanhood. We talk about people as individuals with their own moral compass and values. And he makes a side comment about not praising people for being pretty, for they were simply born that way. They didn't have any choice in the matter. Meanwhile, black women were simply born that way. They didn't have any choice in the matter. But we do make choices every day in regard to how we treat people, but that has nothing to do with our race and our sex. So maybe we should keep the race and the sex out of the conversation. But despite all these criticisms that I have over his initial video, it seems as though some black women have a whole different type of backlash that they're throwing at this man. Let's get into it.
Ever in trouble out there in the real world, look for a black woman.
So I just saw this video where this guy is saying that his mother told him if he's ever in trouble, go find a black woman. All right, so let's unpack that for a second. Black women have been carrying the weight of society for far too long. We're not here to just be a safety net or the go-to for everyone else's problems. Black women have spearheaded movements that have changed the world. From the abolition movement in the 19th centuries to women's suffrage to the civil rights movement in the 1960s. Yet we don't get the credit that we deserve. Our impact has been global, driving change through the Black Lives Matter movement, advocating for justice and equality, the reproductive justice movement, addressing the intersection between race and gender rights, and the Me Too movement. Shout out to Tarana Burke. So if you want to address black women, let's talk about some of the issues that we face today, from systematic discrimination, economic disparities, and lack of access to healthcare. We also deal with mental health stigmas, safety concerns, and educational inequalities. Plus, we also find ourselves underrepresented in politics and misrepresented in media. These challenges are compounded by workplace discrimination and ongoing fights for reproductive and environmental justice. So next time you think it's black women as just saviors, remember we need allies, not dependents. We're not meals, we're innovators, leaders, and change makers.
Oh, so the criticism here on the other end is that he simply didn't do enough. You shouldn't turn to black women for their emotional or physical labor, meaning that when his mother told him, when you're in trouble, look for a black woman, she told him the wrong thing. You shouldn't rely on black women, and you shouldn't be a dependent of black women. So that's where he went wrong. Even though he talked about the issues that black women face in society and with media representation, he shouted out the different black women who throughout history have contributed to the progress of our civilization. That was simply not enough. You have to be more of an ally, and being an ally looks like allowing black women to sit back, not asking them for their emotional or physical labor, and applauding them and giving them credit for every single individual black woman that has done anything throughout our history. Interesting. And there are more responses to his video on X, where it once again went viral. Let's read some responses. Stopped watching after he said his mom said if he's ever in trouble, look for a black woman. We're not mules or protection. Get the out of here. Black women, you are not everyone's mules. It's okay to focus on yourselves. It's okay to decline to offer to help strangers. Absolutely no one reciprocates this energy when it comes to you. Stop being people's mules. This is not a tribute to black women. Eye roll emoji. So interesting. Absolutely no one reciprocates this energy back to you. A black woman has never been helped by anybody within their race, but of a different sex or outside of their race whatsoever. The energy is never reciprocated. Next one. Although this is beautiful, I want someone to ask him how many black women he has helped and protected. It's one thing to recognize black women for their labor. It's another to help lift their burdens. And lastly, tribute to the mammification of black women. And if you don't know what mammification means, it is this sort of caricature of black women that exists in the black mammy throughout history, which is a large black woman who's typically unattractive, is depicted as doing domestic labor, and is usually a slave. Now, Saad has since apologized for putting out his Dear Black Women open letter and says that he should recognize the fact that he is leaning on the labor of black women and that it was never his intention to promote a message like that. And he's now done the work and educated himself to sort of step back from the initial message of his video. So while my initial complaint is that you shouldn't section people off based on their race and attribute certain characteristics to those people of that race, and also say that you should look for them when you need help, I guess the woke left interpretation or criticism is that you should section off black women because of their race and their sex, and that means they should receive special treatment because of the work that black women have done throughout history. So don't ask them for help. And interestingly enough, I think that's what he was trying to convey in his initial video, but it's simply simply wasn't enough. You should never advocate that people ask black women for help, apparently. This just all goes to show that once you open that metaphorical racial Pandora's box, you can't close the box. And once you start separating people based on their race or their sex or any other superficial identity characteristic, and we mix in the idea of intersectionality where you can essentially gain points for having multiple identity markers, the whole system gets a little too convoluted, does it not? And if I really try to look into this specific situation and use their woke formula, a formula that I used to use every single day, I'm looking at a man who's a person of color who is technically marginalized based on his identity, leaning on the help and emotional labor of black women who are people of color, but women who are marginalized. And I guess black women are higher on the totem pole of oppression than brown men, so therefore he cannot ask them for help, he must help them. Talk about the oppression Olympics, and I guess we're all going home with gold on this one. So, final thoughts. If you're ever thinking about making a tribute online, and that tribute starts with dear and then is followed by a race or sex of any kind or any sort of identity group, maybe erase that and start over again. And instead, thank the individuals who have helped you throughout their life, because I can nearly guarantee you that their race and their sex had very little to do with that. Good people are good people. It doesn't matter what sort of meat package they come in. So maybe we should judge people based off of their morals, their values, and their actions, rather than their skin color and their sex. But those are just my thoughts. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, I encourage healthy debate. So if you disagree with anything said in this video, duke it out, but do so respectfully. And if you like this video, like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time I post a video for you guys, which is every day. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Thank me in the comments. I'm a black woman.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.